The government of Wales is being urged to adopt a shorter working week. The call comes from a commission that's been looking at how people have been re-evaluating their lives as a result of the COVID pandemic. Well, for more on this, we can speak to Sophie Howe. She's the Future Generations Commissioner for Wales, and she can tell us more. Thanks for taking time to speak to us here on the programme. Just how big of an issue is this?
Well, working hours and the long working hour culture is hugely problematic in terms of people's stress levels pre-pandemic, but of course, particularly during the pandemic. And we know that across Europe, the cost of mental health is around about 600 billion euros. And so what I'm saying is that with the huge changes in the ways that we've worked and are working currently, so digitization, artificial intelligence, automation, the hours that we work haven't really changed in the last 100 years, and it's time for a debate on whether that should change now.
So how would this actually work in terms of financing? Can you understand the fears of many governments for not implementing this measure?
Yes, certainly I can understand that. But when you compare that with some of the costs to well-being of a long working hour culture, actually some of that is offset. What trials across the world have seen as well, and the biggest one was in Iceland, is that actually productivity improves when people are working fewer hours. There was a trial, for example, in Microsoft in Japan, and they found that their productivity increased by 40%. So we have some huge challenges in the future. How are we going to care for an aging population? How are we going to stem the challenges and problems that we're seeing with mental health? And I think this has got to be part of a discussion on a potential solution.
Now, you're calling for a trial across Wales. Give us some, evidence of what people have been saying to you in terms of, why the government should adopt this.
Well, our polling suggests that there's a huge amount of support for a reduced working week. And our polling also suggests that people would be putting those reduced hours, those hours that they gain back, to good use. And so there's no one size fits all approach. And that's why I'm saying that the Welsh Government should look to support pilots across the public, private and voluntary sector, different types of organisations, to see how a reduced working week could be implemented and what the short, medium and long-term benefits could be.
Does that necessarily mean, of course, that it has to be only 4 days? Could it perhaps be 3?
No, absolutely. And, there are lots of implications around a 4-day working week for those who work part time, for example. So we could be talking about a 6-hour day instead. I think what we're looking at really is a reduction from the 37-hour week, which has been in place for the last 100 years, has not changed despite the huge changes in the ways that we work. And actually, reducing those hours is good for productivity. It helps to reduce sickness absence. It's good for the cost to the public purse in terms of health and well-being and so on. And so we need to look at a range of options of how that could be achieved.